Good morning, Professor Paul. This is Abdullah Shamsi. MashaAllah.
Okay, hello everybody, welcome back to the main room. I hope you enjoyed the sessions you attended since the morning and the break. I hope you found some time to have some drinks. We will now have our second featured presentation. It will be by Professor Paul Garside from the University of Glasgow. Professor Paul Garside has a long-standing interest in studying the fundamental mechanisms of immune regulation and applying his findings in models of infectious and autoimmune disease. From 1995 to 1999, he was a Wellcome Trust Career Development Fellow at the Universities of Minnesota and Glasgow, developing systems to track immune responses in vivo. He was appointed Professor of Immunobiology at the University of Glasgow in 2002. He was Director of the Center for Biophytonics from 2006 to 2009 and Head of Research for the Strathclyde Institute for Pharmacy and Biomedical Science from 2008 to 2009 at the University of Strathclyde. He returned to chair in basic immunology at the University of Glasgow in 2009, where he runs a large group jointly with Professor James Brewer, focusing on using in vivo imaging techniques to study basic mechanisms in immunoregulation applied to autoimmune, mainly rheumatoid arthritis, and infectious such as malaria, leishmaniasis, and trypanosomiasis. Paul has published widely, has been a member of numerous national and international funding panels and advisory boards, and is on the editorial board of several scientific journals. He was elected a Fellow of the Society of Biology in 2011 and a Fellow of the Royal Society of Edinburgh in 2012. Paul took up the post of Dean for Global Engagement for Africa and the Middle East in August of 2018. Professor Paul will give us today a background presentation about the University of Glasgow, and he will highlight the collaboration areas with the British University in Dubai. So, Professor Paul, please welcome with me Professor Paul, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Khalid. Lovely to see you.
I think you're muted.
I think you should be able to hear me now. Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can't hear Paul. Arun? Yeah, I think. Can you hear?
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I will proceed. So thank you very much for the invitation, Khalid, and the kind introduction. And I hope that you're enjoying what looks like a very interesting conference. So it's good afternoon to you now, and for me it's good morning in Glasgow. And remarkably, actually, this morning, Glasgow does kind of look like the weather you see in the slide. So I will give you an overview of some of the things that the University of Glasgow does, and also then talk about how things are developing with our colleagues at British University in Dubai. And just to say, Khalid, I look forward to be able to visit you in person as soon as possible, as we've had such productive meetings in the fairly recent past. So just to give you some information about the university. So the university, as you can see, is quite old. It was established quite some time ago, so we've been in the education business for quite a long time. We remain ranked as one of the top 100 universities in the world, and we're a member of the Russell Group Research Intensive UK Universities. And we have several Nobel laureates connected to the university in a variety of ways. And just to give you a bit of idea of the timeline of those things, from the university being established in 1451, and then this slide only comes up to 2017, when it was named, we were Scottish University of the Year, and as you will have seen on the opening slide, we're Times Higher Education University of the Year for 2020, UK University of the Year for 2020 this year. And you can see some of the discoveries that were made at the university, some very important discoveries, some that some of you will know about. For example, some of our alumni, such as Adam Smith, the father of economics, Lister introducing sepsis, which obviously is so important throughout the world, particularly under current circumstances, and then right up through the discovery of television and all the way through to incredible discoveries about how the solar system works. So you can see a long and distinguished history. We're also very proud of the fact that we always rank incredibly well for student experience. And we have 29,000 students at the university from more than 140 countries. We have a variety of different degree programs. Our 4-year programs in the Scottish system allow us a great deal of flexibility and choice, and we see that as very useful for our students. And as I said, we're consistently ranked in the high in all universities and in the Russell Group for student experience. That's partly because of what goes on at the university itself. For example, we have more than 250 clubs and societies. But I think also, very importantly, the city in which we're based is consistently ranked as one of the friendliest, if not the friendliest city in the world. And it really is a great city culturally to enjoy. There's lots of cultural things to enjoy, but also we sit not very far from the coast, from the mountains, so there are lots of other things to enjoy as well. So I think the city is a very important part of the student experience that people enjoy. We think, I thought I would just highlight some of what we see as some of our strengths here. So in terms of research, we are in the top 5 in the UK for research funding per academic, and that's across all of the disciplines within the university and the wide range of disciplines that we have. As I said, we rank very well for student experience. And in terms of internationalization, we have students from more than 140 countries around the world that under normal circumstances that we can welcome to Glasgow, but under the current circumstances that we continue to communicate with in the way that we're doing today. We're very good in terms of knowledge exchange, so what we do with the knowledge that's generated within the university and turning that into practical solutions and businesses and so on. And we host 2 of Scotland's innovation centres. And also accessibility is very important to us. So we're very good. We're #1 in the Scottish ancient universities for widening participation. So people from all different backgrounds and walks of life we encourage to attend the university. And Glasgow is a municipal university, so the university and the city are very closely interlinked. Our research, we consider, has considerable impact. So we have 2,600 researchers, and we bring in an annual research funding of around, obviously this varies year to year, of around 180 million pounds, Great British pounds per year. We have our research beacons, which we see as our major areas of strength, and you can see those listed here in terms of precision medicine and chronic disease, One Health, addressing inequalities, the nano and quantum worlds, cultural and creative economies, and future life. And actually, if you go onto the university website and look at our beacons, you can see sitting behind the main front pages for those beacons, all of the details of the programs that sit behind those. As I mentioned, the city and the university are very much interlinked, and that has been a great thing for both the city and the university, and the city supports the university as much as the university supports the city. And it's important to note for the city, I think, that the university sustains approximately 15,000 jobs in Scotland. There's an annual turnover in excess of £500 million, and there are different ways of measuring the contribution of that to the Scottish economy. But I think the important thing to note is that the university makes a major impact to the Scottish economy, and that means that the Scottish government and the local city government also make a contribution, an important contribution, in developing things with the university. And that's been very successful and continues to be successful as we are developing our campus over the next few years. I mentioned culture earlier, and there are lots of cultural things to enjoy around the city, and there are also lots of cultural things to enjoy within the university. So we have one of the world's leading university museums, the Hunterian, and some of you have visited, I know, and have enjoyed visiting some of these things. And we have some of the largest collections in the world of Whistler and Mackintosh. So there's a lot to enjoy around the university. We like to connect globally, and for over 560 years now, Glasgow has been connected globally and has partnerships right across the world. We're founding members of Universitas 21 and also the Guild of European Research Intensive Universities. So despite the challenges of things like Brexit, the university remains committed to partnership and research with European universities, and that's what things like the Guild allow us to do and continue to do very successfully. I mentioned earlier that we are partnered with the city and the Scottish Government with developing the campus, and so you can see the building you can see in front of you. The Gilbert Scott building is one of the original older building on the campus that some of you have visited and seen. But we're currently undergoing the biggest investment in the infrastructure of the building, of the campus since that building. And there's currently an investment of over £1 billion going on, building new buildings and extending the campus to even further embed the campus in the city and the life of the city and what the city does. So there's a lot of development and change going on at the moment. So it's a good time, we think, to be engaging with the university and to be developing our partnerships. This is just a screenshot from our external relations, one of our external relations pages where you can go on and look at who we engage with around the world. So this screenshot is not to look at the detail, it's basically to make the point that we engage with partners all over the world and lots of different partners in lots of different ways. So we really are a university that's completely committed to international partnership, and we will continue to develop those. So despite the current circumstances that we find ourselves in with the COVID pandemic, we are open for business. We are very much open for business. Obviously, there's a changing landscape. We are communicating in a different way than many of us are used to, and we have many of us, particularly old guys like me, have had to get used to doing this to be able to reach out across the world, and that's been working very well. And the university has managed to realign itself to do this incredibly well, we think. As I mentioned, there is a big new campus development. There is a strategic review at the university, and there are lots of new funding opportunities. So we remain committed, as I said previously, to developing and building our partnerships. So our collaborations with the British University in Dubai are an example of that and have continued to grow from relatively small beginnings, and we're very pleased to say continue to grow, and we like the model that we have with British University in Dubai. And I thought I would just divide things up into several different areas. So there is cooperation in terms of governance. So we do things like annual visits for quality assurance. And the University of Glasgow sits on the Senate of the British University of Dubai, which meets twice a year. And this is your ultimate academic board at the university to approve policies and programs and new academic development. And the University of Glasgow is involved at that governance level. There's also a lot of engagement, and this has developed quite a lot over the last few years and continues to develop. In terms of programs, and we have quite a lot of 2+2 undergraduate programs, and you can see all of those listed here. I won't go through the details of all of those, and also student exchange and experience. But I think, and all of this is going very well, and we're very pleased with that. One of the things that we're most excited about actually is the next thing, which I think is being developing and will continue to develop. There have been a number of visits backwards and forwards between ourselves and colleagues in British University in Dubai. And our next aim is to progress in the area of joint research and publications. So joint PhDs, joint research programs, and we're kind of pump priming those and identifying those at the moment. We've been doing this with Khalid very recently, actually. And so we're looking forward to further developing, broadening, and deepening our relationship with British University in Dubai, now to also involve research and all of the benefits that can bring to both of our institutions. So once again, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to speak to you today. And if you have any questions, I would be delighted to your questions. Thank you very much, Khalid.
Thank you very much, Paul. This was really interesting for our students to know some information about the University of Glasgow. We really have a relationship that goes back long years, but some of our students, they don't know about what kind of things we're collaborating on. And thank you for being there for our university, and thanks to Bill Cushley for his support, his immense support in the past couple of years. We're looking forward to the collaboration that is connecting our research faculties, and this is really a new thing that we will start working on since we decided on the topics. And this is really great for our faculty and for our students as well. Probably Professor Abdullah wants to say something. Okay, probably.
Khalid, maybe I could say something?
Yes, Paul, please.
So we are very excited about the potential for the research collaborations. And you just mentioned my colleague, my boss actually, Professor Bill Cushley, who's our Assistant Vice Principal for Internationalization, who you will see is on the call as well. So I think that says something about how excited we are about the collaboration. And we would both actually like to thank you very much personally for all the effort you've put in to helping us drive this and identify the areas for collaboration and to keep things moving as well. And we know how much effort you put in, particularly under the current difficult circumstances. So we really appreciate that.
Thank you, Paul. Almost a little bit more than a year when we met last time, but because of COVID, we couldn't really expedite things faster than this. But we're really making huge progress. And again, thanks to you, and thanks to Bill Cushley. I think if anyone wants to ask any questions, I know Daniel is more interested in the museums, as she wants to visit Scotland and Glasgow next summer. So, Daniel, do you want to ask something? Oh, you're not with us. Okay. So, all right, we will. Yes.
Khalid, my email address is very easy to find. If anybody, if people want to put questions in the chat, or if they want to after the meeting, and if I know you've recorded the meeting, please feel free to email me. I'll be more than delighted to help with any questions people have, any of the students or staff, and to facilitate anything that they want. So please get in touch.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Anyone wants to ask a question? Okay, Paul, probably then I will ask you the question, since when I visited last year, you've shown me the lab where all the immunology issues are being carried out. So what can you tell us about the developments COVID-19, since this is your area of specialty?
Okay, so what I can tell you is a couple of things that may be of interest. So at the University of Glasgow, we have the UK Medical Research Council Centre for Virus Research embedded within the university. So a great deal of the work on sequencing and tracking the virus itself and the variants of the virus is being done at the University of Glasgow, and certainly a lot of that is being done for Scotland at the University of Glasgow. A couple of other interesting and important things. So at the very start of the pandemic, the university very quickly, we talked about knowledge exchange and transfer. The university very quickly set up with some pharmaceutical company partners what has been called the Lighthouse Lab. So we identified some space that was in our kind of hub for knowledge exchange at one of the hospital campuses. And the Lighthouse Lab has actually been doing the PCR testing for COVID, and actually is the lab in the UK that is doing more testing than any other lab in the UK. So that's been a great success, and obviously very important for Scotland and for the UK. The other thing that's happening in terms of immunology, which is my background, is that about 2 weeks ago now, in terms of the vaccination programs, a very large and important trial was started, a clinical trial called the Octave trial. And this is a trial which is in collaboration across the UK with different areas of the UK, so with the University of Birmingham, Oxford, somewhere in one of the universities in London. And what that trial is doing is looking at the immune response to vaccination of patients who are immunocompromised. So patients who, for various reasons, have a weakened immune system. So they may be patients with kidney disease, with heart disease, with rheumatoid arthritis, for example. And some of those patients, of course, are on immunosuppressive drugs to control their disease. So if you're trying to dampen down their immune response to control their disease, but you're trying to vaccinate them to get a good immune response, that's very challenging. So that's a very big trial across the UK, which has started and is ongoing. And the university is heavily involved in doing the immune phenotyping, looking at whether we can induce the right kind of immune response and enough immune response in those patients. The university has also been involved, as many universities in the UK have, of looking at the treatments for COVID. And one of the interesting ones, actually, I think you met, who was my head of institute and is actually now head of college, Professor Ian McInnes, who's a rheumatologist. And actually, lots of the inflammatory response that you see in rheumatoid arthritis looks kind of similar to the response that you see in the lungs of patients suffering from the severe consequences of COVID. And some of those clinical trials have identified some of the therapeutics to attack the molecules of the immune response to turn it down. And it's the same therapeutics that are used in rheumatoid arthritis that have now been tested and are being used in those severe COVID patients. So the building that I work in, which you visited, is open and running because there's still lots of research going on in that building, and a lot of that related to COVID.
Okay, that was very insightful, Paul. Thank you very much for sharing this information with us. I think, yes, I see students asking for the email. We will post the email
Sure.
later. One last question, since no one is asking. When is the vaccine coming for the children?
Yeah, actually, so I actually heard very recently, this week, in fact, that the vaccine trials in children are being done at the moment. And so as soon as the clinical trials are done, then we can have confidence that the vaccines are safe in that age group. Then they'll start to roll out in that age group as well.
So how soon that you think, approximately?
Well, the aim in the UK, for example, is to have all adults vaccinated by June or July. And so my assumption is that the clinical trials hopefully will be completed by then. And then also, of course, there will be less pressure on the vaccine to give the vaccine to adults. Hopefully everybody will be vaccinated. So then we can think about vaccinating children when we're sure that it's safe and when there is enough vaccine supply. Because of course, lots of children or most children don't get the severe consequences and are asymptomatic. So they remain a potential reservoir. I think one other interesting thing, Khalid, and as you know from other parts of what I do, it will be important that this is a global effort, and that so other things we're involved in is vaccination programs in low and middle income countries, where if we don't vaccinate and protect populations there is potential that there will be continued mutation of the virus, and new mutations will arise that could possibly skip past the existing vaccines and cause problems. So we have to deal with this in a global manner.
Right. Thank you very much, Paul, for sharing this information with us, for sparing the time to talk to our students. I'm sure all of our students are delighted that they've met you, and they're asking for the email as well. So now they see what kind of friends we have in Scotland, and the collaboration in the future is all in favor of our students. Thank you very much, Paul, for this. Thank you for sparing the time. Probably if Bill Cushley is here, I think our students would like to hear a word or two from him as well.
If that's possible, if Bill is there and can share his even his microphone, if not his camera, I don't know.
I know he's shy.
Oh, he's raising his hand. Maybe he's trying to get access to the microphone.
Okay, Bill, just click on the mic at the bottom of the screen. Yes,
there we go.
now, yes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Bill. Yeah.
Okay, so I would just echo everything Paul has said, not only about the university and our enthusiasm for interacting with the British University in Dubai, but also, you know, also with my immunologist hat on, everything he said about the vaccine and the need for a global approach to treating all populations. So until everyone's vaccinated effectively, nobody is safe, is the view that I would take, and Paul has already enunciated that. We'll look forward to seeing you in Glasgow sometime soon as travel restrictions ease. And likewise, we'll look forward to coming out to Dubai. And maybe next year, Paul can give a talk in person at this very interesting morning's event or afternoon for you. I'm just about to, when we finish here, I'm going to go off to session 3 on the education side. So okay. That's one of the areas where we don't yet have any links. We've got a lot in engineering and we're building things in computing science. But our School of Education has a very well developed portfolio of international connections, and it would be nice to see if we could do something in that sphere. So I'm going to go along and hear a little bit from the students in session 3 in a couple of minutes. Thank you again, Khalid, for inviting both of us. We're enjoying the event, and we'll look forward to doing more with you in the future. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you for your guidance and support We truly appreciate it. I think we have a quick question from Edward, Head of Project Management Program.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Kali. Just a quick question to Professor Garside. The question primarily relates to efficacy of the vaccine. I think if you have a look into what has been happening, especially from a vaccination point of view, we are getting a disparity of results. For instance, if you have a look into the results that you're getting in Europe and you compare that with Africa, there's a huge disparity. What might be the cause of that, and what can be done to address the issue of disparity from an efficacy point of view?
Okay, so for me personally, that's a fascinating question, and I've actually spent a lot of the past few weeks on calls to deal with and address exactly those questions. So, Khalid knows that part of my research work is done in Africa, with links in Africa. So I have a lot of links and spend some time in Malawi and also in Kenya. And we were already for a long time working to look at why other vaccines, so for example, things like the salmonella vaccine that works in a lot of the rest of the world doesn't work terribly well in Africa. So why is that? Are there background genetic issues? Are there background environmental issues? And if there are background environmental issues, what might those background environmental issues be? So you might imagine that they could be things like as simple as the environment. So the environment has an impact in terms of temperature and so on, about whether pathogens survive, but that's probably not an effect that would something that would affect vaccines. What we think maybe there is the infections that are there, and those infections are different, obviously, in parts of Africa. So, for example, in Malawi, HIV, TB, malaria are very prevalent, and the impact of those on the immune response to vaccination could have a negative effect. There was some evidence initially, so things have actually got very bad in parts of sub-Saharan, particularly Eastern Africa, very recently with the variant of the virus. So the other thing could be the variant of the virus that's present and how efficacious the vaccine is against that variant. So we're actually, at the moment, I've been in discussions, we're about to try to set up a small trial, similarly using our experience that I was just talking about with the Octave trial looking in immunosuppressed patients. We're trying to set up a small trial in Malawi to do exactly the same thing there. So to look in populations in areas where we know that, for example, malaria is endemic or not, and then also to control for all of the other things I talked about. So socioeconomic background has an impact, how well nourished people are. That certainly had an impact in populations in the UK. So to look at those different, all of those different things, to see the impact of those different things on the efficacy of the vaccine. So very interesting question, lots of potential answers, and we're trying to address that at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for sharing this with us. And thanks to Bill as well. We'll see you around at track 3. So it is a little bit over time. So you may join your sessions now, and those in session 3 with Bill Cushley, take advantage of his presence and get some feedback on your work. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Paul. It was great having you today, and we hope to see you and talk to you very soon.